It's the 22nd of July. It's a lovely sunny day here in London. We're at the Hilton at Canada Water. My name is Ken Toon. I work for Markit Group. I'm basically a software guy with a bit of maths thrown in. I'm about 40 years old, and I've spent 15 to 20 of those years in financial services in one form or another. For the last 10 years or so, I've been working as a sort of cross between a software developer and a business analyst. So I've written a lot of code, and then I've moved on to specify systems. In my day-to-day job, the speciality of my group is valuing exotic derivatives. And this is obviously a field that's kind of constantly changing. So it's important to keep up to speed with the latest developments. This can be pretty difficult. There aren't very many good books on the subject. There's an awful lot of papers, difficult to know which ones to read. And sometimes getting information out of people can be kind of tricky. I guess I was looking not necessarily to get a step ahead of my colleagues, but to kind of keep pace with them in a manageable way. I guess as you sort of get a little bit older, you want to always make sure that your skills don't go out of date. So I looked around to sort of see what there was out in the wider world that could help me. So I didn't want to do a master's and take a year off, because that's a very expensive way of doing things. And there are other courses available, but often they're sort of very expensive as well. And I guess whenever you're doing a course, you sort of try and work out whether it's worth all that sort of cost in terms of the asset that you might accrue as far as your career goes. And in some cases it might be a little bit prohibitive. But I came across Rahul's website, the Latte website, and I really liked it. I mean, I guess I'm pretty sure most of the content is written by Rahul, and I think if you read it, it really conveys his enthusiasm for financial markets, and it also illustrates the kind of pretty deep knowledge of his subject matter. So if you do go along to the Latte website, you will see that one of the things you can do is you can take the CFE course. So I didn't know very much about this, so I sent an email off to find out what it was all about. And I think Rahul called me almost immediately to kind of give me a breakdown on what he was doing and what he was hoping to do with the school. So it sounded pretty good to me, and I signed up for it. It's a pretty impressive looking curriculum. I think that's one of the reasons why I was drawn to it. Is there's an incredible spread potentially of subjects to be discussed, and I thought I was really surprised, I guess, by that breadth, and therefore really interested and sort of looking forward to what I might learn. The course itself, it breaks down into 6 weekends, or 6 or 7. So it's pretty manageable. If you're a working guy, you can sort of slot that into your schedule, and you don't need to worry about sort of long evenings after work, and you don't need to worry about taking time off work. So in terms of the practical logistics, it's a good course to take. What I think is the strongest thing about the course, though, is that it's very practical, and if you do choose to take it, I think what you'll find is that it really seeks to demystify finance. I think if you talk to finance professionals, they can often kind of put a little bit of smoke in the way and make it seem like it's more complex than it is. I'm not saying that it isn't complicated, but I'm saying that it is ultimately accessible to you if you're a reasonably numerate person. So the way that Rahul gives the course is that he explains the kind of mathematics of what's involved in pricing a particular structure, or the mathematics of a particular type of model, and then he gets you to try and apply what he's just told you in terms of an Excel spreadsheet, and possibly using a little bit of programming. This gives you a very sort of practical and intuitive feel for what's going on. And I think, ultimately, if you're actually watching the numbers change and you're putting the parameters in and you're seeing how the value responds, then that enables you to get much more of an understanding for many people than if you're simply faced with a formula. The classes themselves are very enjoyable. My own class, I guess, was 10 or 12 people, and I felt we formed quite a positive group. And although not sort of strictly part of the course, it's always nice to do a little bit of networking and meet people from other institutions and form some relationships. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. I think another nice aspect is that it's not really a classroom type scenario, in that Rahul encourages people to help each other. So in a way, it's not just a case of him sort of being in front, talking about the subject in a sort of rather old-fashioned way. It's much more interactive, and if you will, I guess there's a sort of team-based element. There's kind of time for a little bit of sort of discussion between exercises and so forth. And I think if you do come along to the course, you'll be able to hear Rahul talk a little bit more widely about his career and his sort of knowledge of finance, and maybe a few anecdotes. And all this stuff is sort of quite interesting and quite revealing, and I think really makes for a very enjoyable experience. So in terms of the takeaway for me, I think I just ended up perhaps being slightly less scared of some of the sort of quantitative aspects of finance, which was something I didn't really need to be. I've got a maths degree, but I think that people can make it sort of slightly intimidating as a subject. But having sort of sat down and worked through the exercises and done the programming, I really found that I left with a much clearer, intuitive idea of many of the concepts than I'd had before I started. What Rahul will also do is he'll kind of recommend further reading for you. So I guess in 12 days, there's a limit to how much information you can absorb. But if you kind of want to dig further, then he'll point you in the right direction. He's a pretty generous guy. So following the course, he's forwarded people different sorts of material for them to sort of read and digest. And what he's very keen on is that, having done the course, you sort of remain a member of the institution, as it were. So whatever he's doing, he'll keep you up to date with it. So all in all, very good experience. I guess I'll just say a bit more about myself. I think I said a little bit about my education. I've got a maths degree. I've got a computer science degree. In my spare time, I like to play squash. I like to run. I like to travel. I like to read. But I've got a young family, so that keeps me pretty busy as well. And we've just bought a new house, and we've got all sorts of things to do. So there's never a dull moment. Anyway, well, thanks very much, Rahul, for asking for this testimonial. And if you're listening to it, I hope you sort of get in touch, find out a bit about the course, and find out if it's the right thing for you.